Welcome to episode 98 of the Valley Sports Talk podcast. Two more away from 100. As you guys are watching this, yesterday we did one of our interviews for episode 100 as I dropped something that's coming out June 21st, and it was a really good interview. I'm not going to say who it was. You'll just have to wait to see in 2 more weeks. But yeah, we had a really good time doing it. And we are doing some more in the future. So be ready for that. Should be a good episode, nice long episode, a bunch of interviews. It's not going to be more hockey related because I think maybe the Stanley Cup could be over by then. Um,
Yeah, it'll be close. It'll
it'll
be
be like
very
game
close.
6, so probably the worst time for episode 100 to come out, right in the middle of a Stanley Cup final. But yeah, anyways, um, on today's episode we plan to predictions. And then we're gonna talk a bit about Dallas and New York's offseason. Um, I got Florida one right. I said Florida in 6. That was correct. You said Rangers in 6. You were incorrect. And we were both very off about the
Yeah,
Dallas and Oilers. I said Dallas in 6. You said Dallas in 5. And it ended up
yeah.
being Oilers in 6.
Yeah, I think it was just the goal scoring in part of Edmonton and they actually got good goaltending under Stuart Skinner when they needed it. Dallas just couldn't score. They couldn't get it done. They couldn't get past that Edmonton defense. I think Darnell Nurse got a lot of heat and that kind of riled his game up. He kind of went from he shifted from an offensive defenseman to someone who was just going to hit everything he saw. I think Evan Bouchard has stolen that kind of role from Darnell Nurse, and he just said, you know what, then if I can't be that offensive guy, I'm just going to hit everybody. And he looked really good in the last couple games, and just Dallas couldn't get anything going. And I mean, we've seen Edmonton's penalty kill, and when would you have thought you were going to see Edmonton's penalty kill at 93%?
Yeah, I think if the Oilers want to attempt to win a Stanley Cup, they need Darnell Nurse to just be that guy. He needs to accept his role that, he's just got to hit everything, especially with how mean and how aggressive and how physical this Florida team is. I think Darnell Nurse needs to be the type of player we saw him in games 4, 5, and 6, where, that was playing some of his best baseball. We've seen him playing a while, best baseball. Sorry, I just saw the Jays alert on my phone as I was starting to say that sentence, but the best hockey we've seen him play in a while because he has had some rough parts in this NHL playoffs. But yeah, if he can keep doing what he was doing in or games 4, 5, and 6, I think that's what the Oilers need. But yeah, let's get to the off seasons first. We'll do our predictions last. Dallas, they were my Stanley Cup pick again. I picked them last year and they lost. I picked them this year, they lost. So I'll probably say screw it and triple down on them next year and pick them to win the cup again next year. But yeah, 2 years in a row they lose in the conference finals.
Yeah, I mean, I also had Dallas. They just look like such a deep team. We've talked all about them. Everyone knows all about them, but they don't have too many huge moves. They definitely do have a couple moves they have to make, though. In terms of forwards, you have guys like Matt Duchene, Sam Steele. No, sorry, not Logan Stankoven. Matt Duchene, Sam Steele, and Ty Dellandrea. Obviously, Joe Pavelski is also a UFA, but everything's pointing to him retiring,
Yes.
which would put him down as one of the best players to ever not win a Stanley Cup.
Seventh round pick. Yeah.
Hmm.
Crazy good career if he does hang it up. It sucks that I was saying this yesterday. We saw a team of four, three, maybe four if you consider Pavelski, but four possible Hall of Fame players play together and never win a cup for that many years with Marlowe, Brent Burns, Joe Thornton, and Pavelski.
Yeah, they're going to go down as one of the best teams to not win a cup for sure.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
they just stuck together for so long and never got it done. Deep runs, though.
Yeah, I think this Dallas team is in a really good spot, even though they just did lose in the conference finals. I think they're still in a really good spot. All of their top end talent is under the age of like 26, except for like obviously you still got Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin, who I thought those two had great playoffs. Um,
Yeah.
especially Tyler Seguin. But yeah, they got Logan Stankoven who came up halfway through the year. Wyatt Johnson's emerging as a stud. Jake Ottinger, I don't think should be blamed for that game 6 loss, even though they only did have 10 shots. I thought that the goals he let in were kind of one was McDavid just absolutely walking through the whole Dallas team, and the puck kind of flipped up. So I think Ottinger wasn't really expecting it to go up that quick, considering how close he was. And then Hyman's goal was right in the slot. Um, I think any goalie has trouble saving that. So I don't really think that we can put a lot of blame on Ottinger, being that he's still young. Miro Heiskanen's still young. The Maverick Bork kid was the AHL MVP this year. He only played in one game. Sam Steele and Ty Dellinger are still young if they can bring these guys back, and they have those guys that can complement them, like Sagan, like Jamie Benn, Mason Marchment's a fine third line, and he's a vet. And you've got guys like Radek Fox, Anton Lindell or Ethel Lindell, guys like that that can slot in beside these young guys. I think that Dallas, seeing how young they are, I think that free agents can be sort of attracted to them. It'll be interesting to see what they do. Is Chris Tanev a UFA, or does he have one more
Yeah,
year?
yeah, yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what they do with him. I think he was a great fit beside him. Oh, I didn't even mention Thomas Harley. Thomas Harley is also a young defenseman who sort of mans their second power play unit behind um, Mir Heiskanen. But I think that being how young they are and how good they are, I think, we saw it with Joe Pavelski. I think and we saw it with Matt Duchene this year. I think that vets are inclined to sign here because they do always sort of have a shot. They're coached well. I think Pete DeBoer is a great coach. So I think that Dallas can get better this offseason with the right moves. I think they're sort of going to need to get some more get like a sixth defenseman because they were kind of playing with five defensemen um all playoffs. That Petrovic guy was a bit better than the Nils Lundqvist guy they had in, who only played about 4 to 5 minutes a game in the first two rounds. But I think that if they bring back Tanev, I like Lindell, I like Harley, Hawkenpaw was hurt. If they can bring in that fifth defense, that sixth defenseman, and then some depth scoring, I think this team can make a run back to where they were this year, and if not, get farther.
Yeah, you make some good points. They got a really good mix of young and old guys, which is very inviting to, say, older people who haven't won a cup and are looking to make a deep run. And it also allows the younger guys to gain some really good experience from people like Sagan, Ben, Pavelski, Duchesne, Ryan Suter on the back end,
I
people
forgot
like
about
that.
Suter.
In terms of the offense, obviously Ty Dellandrea and Sam Steele are both young, so they'll be relatively easy to bring back. The one question mark is Matt Duchene, but I feel like it's kind of a perfect spot for him. Um, Older guy looking for success on a really good team, and it seemed like he fit really well there and looked really good in the playoffs. So I don't see any reason why he'd want to leave a team like this. In terms of defensemen, you got Heiskanen, Lundell, and Suter signed. Everybody else is a on the market. Obviously, Thomas Harley and Lundqvist are both young, both RFAs. They're going to bring both of those guys back. So you got five defensemen there. Um, I'm assuming Tanev's going to walk just because it seems like it was a 1 year rental, although we'll see. I think Hakanpää's the guy they try and bring back as their sixth defenseman to run with Hakanpää, Lundqvist, Harley, Suter, Lindell, and Heiskanen. And then you also probably got to bring somebody else because I don't think you want to rely on Ryan Suter playing 82 games as a 40-year-old.
No, I totally agree. And he did look like he was sort of, to me, he looked in this series, he looked frustrated a lot. He looked like he could tell that, he didn't have those legs underneath him that he used to. What do you say, 36, 37?
For his
Um,
age,
yeah.
he's 39, will be 40 next year.
Oh geez, he
Yeah.
aged quickly.
Yeah.
Anyways, like I said, I don't know. I found he looked very frustrated. He showed that after the whistle. I felt like for a player like Ryan Suter, he was very pushy after the whistle, which I'm okay with in the playoffs, but a lot more than that we've seen Ryan Suter be in the past. And I think his sort of age is catching up to him. I think he's a fine sixth defenseman. But if I'm looking at like the free agent defenseman, I want sort of someone that um if you're gonna put Suter and um, sorry, I'm just searching up defenseman right now. Let
Well,
me
you got
just.
to assume if they can resign Hakanpää, their six defensemen will be Heiskanen, Lundell, Harley, Hakanpää, Lundqvist, and Suter. So I think you just got to find someone that'll sub in with Suter because, like I said, Suter's not playing a full season at this age anymore.
No, for
And it,
sure. I'm just trying to find the free agents.
Well, while you do that, the only other thing to wrap up Dallas is their goaltending. Jake Ottinger is up for an extension July 1st, so we'll see how quickly they look to get that done. And on the other side, Scott Wedgwood is a free agent, so they will be in the market for a backup goalie.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just looking at these guys and like I like a guy like Brendan Dillon coming in here. You know, he's mean. He can play on that six pair with Ryan Suter or with Hawkenpaw. Even if they don't bring back Hawkenpaw, bring in someone like that. I also like the Eric Johnson fit. He is 36, so you're not getting much younger there. I just think they need like a vet. I don't think they should bring in a young guy. They need a vet. They have those two young stud defensemen in Harley and Haskin who can drive the offense. They just need guys that they can sort of plug in there on the six pair. But yeah, Ottinger, you just mentioned he's up for an extension. I don't see why you don't sign him. I don't know. I've seen a lot of mixed sort of stuff on Twitter about him, about how, is he the guy? Um, did he show in this playoffs enough? And I totally think he did. Like I said, I don't think he should be really blamed for that game six. Um, I just think it's the fact that Dallas didn't score and the fact that Dallas's power play went completely cold. They went like 0 for 17 or something.
And it wasn't like they were generating chances. It was
No,
ugly.
it was very ugly.
Yeah, I think they'll look to get an extension on that right away, and whether it's Wedgwood or not, a backup goalie isn't too difficult to find, so they'll get that done. But that's your Dallas Stars.
Hmm.
Kind of disappointing. I think they definitely had Stanley Cup aspirations, but the path they had, that they must be beaten down and pretty tired. So that would have been a remarkable Stanley Cup run, and I think we can all say that after now that it's done, we're not shocked after the teams they had to face.
Hmm.
But the
Yeah.
New Yorkers,
Moving on to the Eastern Conference, Florida I don't want to say destroyed, but dismantled the Rangers. Um, I think without Shesterkin, this is a sweep. I think the only reason the Rangers won two games was because of Shesterkin. That one that Wenberg won it in overtime. That was all Florida whole game, and of course New York done that. I don't know. I don't know what your thoughts are, but I think that without Shesterkin in this series isn't very close.
no, I totally agree. New York just looked totally outclassed in this series. I don't know if it was because injuries. We'll see if they come out. We did hear one about their captain. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, broken
Um,
ankle.
yeah, it seems like he had a broken ankle, which would make sense why he was getting walked every game. But yeah, they just look beat down. Their top guys didn't really perform aside from Vinny Trocheck. I think he looked really good. But the power play disappeared. It's kind of same story as Dallas. Yeah, the power play disappeared. It makes sense. The two teams left in the Stanley Cup playoffs are the two teams that had the best penalty kill. So they're just smothering everything. And like you said, this was basically Shesterkin trying to will this team to a finals, and he almost got there.
Yeah, I think the thing that scares me for Edmonton, I know this is getting a bit premature into our predictions, but just what Barkov can do against top guys. He was playing against this Panarin line, this Zibanejad line, and look what he did. He completely just quieted those guys. The three main guys on their team, other than Trocheck, who I think Trocheck throughout this playoffs was probably their best and most consistent player over the three rounds.
You
But
could definitely
Barkov,
put a case for Lafreniere too.
yeah, he's definitely up there. But in this third round, I think, we talked about it last episode how just these guys have done absolutely nothing in this round. I think a lot of that is in relevance to the fact that Alexander Barkov, the Selke winner, has been matched up with these guys. And I think that honestly, if I'm the Oilers, this kind of scares me. Or it honestly might scare me for the fact that he might be able to shut one of the two down. But now that the fact that Drysdale and McDavid are on separate lines, maybe they can get that other line going where the Drysdale line could get going if Barkov is matched up to McDavid. But even then, I like Florida's third line a lot of Tarasenko, Lundell, and Luostarinen on that whatever line Barkov is matched up with. But yeah, sorry, that was
Yeah.
me prematurely getting onto that series.
No, I don't blame you. I mean, Barkov's special over the last couple of years. People have been saying he's the most underrated player in the NHL. I don't think he has that title
I
anymore
hope not.
just because of how good he is. If you look at the playoffs, he shut the Kucherov point line down, and then he shut down
Pasternak and Marchand.
Pasternak and Marchand, and then he
Now
shut
Kreider's
down.
advantage at Panarin.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's just done it
Zolti.
every single series, so you know that it's going to happen to at least one of the two stud line or one of the two first two lines on this Edmonton team.
Yeah, for sure. So going back to the Rangers, in terms of forwards, they actually don't have much moves to make. Capo Caco is an RFA who, as we spoke about last episode, was struggling to get into the lineup. When he did, he didn't play much minutes. A lot of speculation if they'll move on from him as
I think it just makes
2023.
sense.
I think so too. Other than Capo Caco, you have Jack Roslovic, Alexander Wenberg, who actually did play top 6 minutes in this series because they tried to switch it up and get everyone going. And then veteran Blake Wheeler,
Yeah,
who might go back.
I think Wheeler might hang it up,
Yeah,
honestly.
me too.
I think Roslovic and Wenberg could be looked at as both being sort of rentals because they do have some guys down in the pipeline that can start fighting for minutes. They have like guys like Brennan Othman. He's the first guy that I think of. But I think that if you're looking at your RFAs, I believe you have Braden Schneider in there, who I think he's got to be locked up. He's a great top
Geez,
four
let me get
defenseman.
to the defenseman when we get to the defenseman. We're
Sorry,
on
I didn't know
four.
you just did defenseman. I also believe is Ryan Lin as we're since we're already there. I think Lindgren's
Okay,
up
so
for
I'll go
one.
to defense right now. They got their top three locked up in Fox, Trouba, and Miller. Uh, they do have three free agents that did play for them in the back end on the playoffs, and Ryan Lindgren, who's an RFA, which helps a lot. Braden Schneider, who's obviously an RFA because he's so young, and then veteran Eric Gustafson, who played uh, pretty important minutes for this team in the playoffs.
Yeah. If we're looking at that, I think it's kind of hard not to give guys like Braden Schneider and Lindgren contracts. Lindgren, I'd be a bit iffy on because he is a bit older. Maybe not giving him that long-term one, but maybe sort of a bridge one. Um, but I like the idea of locking Schneider up. Um, and then I think Gustafson, I think he did play great. Him and Truba were sort of that third or third unit. He did play the second power play because he is mainly an offensive defenseman. But I think that um, to save money, you can let a guy like him walk and not sort of be not lose sleep over it. But yeah, I think the Rangers are still in a great spot, even if they lose. You know, guys like Wenberg, guys like Roslovic, and Gustafson.
And then the big talk has been in net. Obviously, Igor Shesterkin and Jonathan Quick both have 1 year left on their contract. But there has been news about Shesterkin on his next contract. And from a podcast I listened to, they said they wouldn't be surprised if he was the highest paid goaltender in the NHL. And currently that's Bob at 10 mil. I mean, if Shesterkin makes more than 10 mil, it's tough to build the rest of the team around that. But I mean, he kind of deserves it. If whatever price he comes with, it's hard to say no to with the way
I
things
was
are.
just about to say that I think the way he's played and the way he sort of played in New York, I think it's sort of hard not to give him, you know, that $12 million that he honestly probably deserves based off how good of a goalie he is. Like we said, we don't think that Rangers even do win two games without him in this series. Um, Obviously I don't really like giving goalies a lot of money.
Yeah,
Um,
it's tough.
but I think that there's exceptions. I think Igor Shesterkin is one of these exceptions. As much as I hate him as a player, and I hate the Rangers, I think that in this case there is an exception. I think that he if you want to do anything with this team, and they're still young, you know, Lafreniere is just coming into shape. Keandre Miller's still young. Braden Schneider's like, you know, Panarin's still like only 30. You know, you got some young guys. I think this Rangers team is going to compete for a bit, and I think you got to lock Shesterkin up.
Yeah, I think the difficult part about that is not looking at next year, but the year after. You have Fox at 9.5. You got Trouba at 8.
Truba can
You have
go. He's useless. He's basically
Yeah,
a
but
bag of pucks.
it's going to be tough to trade 8 million bucks. And regardless, they have Keandre Miller will be up for a contract. Um, you have your big guys in Panarin making 11.5, Zibanejad 8.5, Kreider 6.5, Trocheck, and then and 2 years from now you have Lafreniere who's due for an extension, Will Cooley, uh, people like that. So I don't know if they'll have money to. do all that. So I'm fascinated. I'm pretty sure by the looks and talks of these contracts, they're going to be a pretty similar team to this year. But in 2 years' time, this team's going to have some decisions to make.
Yeah, the thing that I sort of look at, it's like a player or goalie as good as Shesterkin doesn't come around that often. Like a
I
goalie of
totally agree,
his
but who do
level.
you let go of then? Because
I I think
you're not going to be able to sign Lafreniere, Cooley,
I saw a
Andre Miller,
couple.
and Igor.
I would honestly like the way that he played this playoffs. I would see if you can get a taker on Mika Zibanejad. I think Lafreniere can play that second center role, or even a guy like Trocheck. He was playing on the wing, or Zibanejad. One of the two were playing on the wing. But I think that you have enough youth and enough depth on this team that you can look to move a guy like Zibanejad this offseason.
Yeah, definitely going to be something they have to look at. As this team will be in some cap troubles in 2 years' time. But
Oh.
we'll see how that goes.
So with that, we will move on to the Stanley Cup Finals, which if you guys are watching this the day it comes out, it starts tomorrow night at 8. We are recording this Tuesday, June 6th, currently 3:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So in 24 hours, this video will be 8 minutes into its live viewing. Yeah, um, I think it's gonna be a good Stanley Cup final. Obviously, Florida's been there last year where they ultimately fell to the Golden Knights. You have Oilers who have not been there since '06 where they lost to Carolina. And I think that it's gonna be good for the NHL to have McDavid in a final. We'll get to our predictions. I don't think he comes away with it, but yeah. Well, I don't know what your quick thoughts are on this Stanley Cup final matchup.
Yeah, it's going to be a great one. Obviously, it comes with a lot of narratives. The fact that it's the longest distance Stanley Cup Finals. You finally got a Canadian team in there. You got the Panthers in the Stanley Cup Finals back to back. You got McDavid in the Stanley Cup Finals for his first time. And you know what they say? All legends win a Stanley Cup.
Okay, Spittin' Chicklets listener.
It's it's true.
Oh,
All
I was listening to it today and they said that all
have you?
legends win a cup.
I haven't listened to it yet, actually.
Okay.
Well, it's just kind of common knowledge. Everyone wins one. Like you look at the top players in the NHL today. Sid's won one, Ovechkin's won one. I guess Pavelski hasn't won one, but you still look at all the top players. Marchand's won one, uh, McKinnon's won one, except I guess Matthews hasn't won one.
Yeah, exactly. You are a legend.
Anyways, yeah, exactly. And McDavid's gonna try and enter those books. So I think it's gonna be really good. I think it's tough to lose two in a row, especially just gaining that knowledge of being there, seeing what it takes. And they seem to be a lot healthier than they were last year against Vegas. Where Edmonton hasn't been here before, they're still relatively young. The moment might be too big. I guess time will tell, but I'm probably going to lean, well, not probably, I am going to lean Florida in this one as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Florida in 7.
I was going to say the same
I had
thing.
Florida in 6 all day, but I don't see the Oilers losing a game 6 in Edmonton because Florida will have the home ice advantage in this series. I see that whoever team wins this, which I think will be Florida, they win it at home. So it's either my pick was either Florida in 5 or Florida in 7. And I just think this Florida team is very mean and skilled at the same time. You got to Chuck, you got people like Ekblad and Forsling who are going to be that unit that's up against McDavid. You got guys like Sam Bennett. But then also on the other side, you got guys like Evander Kane. You got the Darnell Nurses. You got the Sam Carrick. He's a mean guy. You got Brett Kulak, Cody Ceci. I think it's going to be a really physical Stanley Cup final, which is good. Um, I just think, and like you said, both these two teams are the top two penalty kill teams. So it's going to be sort of like which one of these penalty kills is going to break first, which one of these power plays is going to take over the series, and will we see the Stuart Skinner we saw from games 4, 5, and 6, or will we see the Stuart Skinner from round 2? That is sort of the biggest question that I have going into this final.
Yeah, I think the only chance Edmonton has is if Stuart Skinner plays the way he's played so far. You look at Edmonton's run so far, and they've played Cam Talbot, who's had good years in the past and was decent this year, but obviously he's getting older. He's not an elite goaltender in this league. And then you move to Sheilofs, who played really well in his own right, but again, as a third string goalie, probably back up next year. And last series, they probably played the best goalie they played in Ottinger, but Bobrovsky's a whole new monster. He's a vet. He's been there. He knows how to win, steal games, win series. So it's going to be tough to get by him, even with the weapons of McDavid and Draisaitl. So Stuart Skinner's going to have to play up to that level. Will he be able to? Time will tell. And then there's just, if you look on Florida, you got Sam Bennett, Matthew Tkachuk, who both played on Calgary. They definitely got beef with a lot of the Edmonton guys, as Edmonton has some people who are still around in Darnell Nurse and Evander Kane
Vander
and people like
Kane.
that.
Him and
Uh,
Chuck used to go at it a lot.
yeah, so there will be some bad blood here for sure. And I do think Edmonton is
Corey
probably the
Perry. We
best
didn't even
match.
mention Corey Perry.
Yeah, Corey Perry's gonna ruffle some feathers here for sure. Congrats, fifth different team he's made the Stanley Cup
NHL
with.
record.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
The
Uh,
ultimate winning guy, but he doesn't. He's
yeah,
only won one. He's
but he
currently
doesn't
one
win
for
at the
four. He
end.
has a 25% winning poss- percentage in the finals. Will that go to 20% or will that go to
Come on, figure it out.
35?
40.
40.
40.
I'm not
Yeah,
a math guy.
I do think Edmonton is the best matchup against Florida than they've seen so far. I think just all the mean guys on Edmonton do match up against what Florida tries to play, where I don't know if the Rangers definitely couldn't match that. I think Boston can match it a little bit, but they sort of lost that over the last couple years. And Tampa's mean in their own right, but I think Edmonton's the best matchup. So I do think that's why I'm picking it's going seven instead of kind of the easier walk Florida's been able to have so far. So, I
Hmm.
mean, we'll see. I think it's going to be really interesting. I think either team can win, but Stuart Skinner is pivotal for Edmonton here.
Yeah, give me a give me a X factor for both teams. One guy that sort of needs to play their game, or if he doesn't play their game, that will end in their team's demise.
I just said Stuart Skinner, so to give another name, I will go Evander Kane just because I feel like we just said, there's a lot of bad blood there between teams. More than you'd expect from an Eastern Western just because of the Calgary players that have moved to Florida. So I feel like he will be extra motivated. The playoffs haven't really gone his way so far, but he did look better against Dallas. So maybe that'll help him in the Stanley Cup Finals. So we'll see. I feel like he's super important to get the guys going, lay a big hit early, get the boys rattled. And then for Florida, I mean, it's pretty obvious, but I think I got to go Barkov just because of the route we've talked about so far, how he shut down Kucherov, he shut down Pasta, he shut down everyone on the Rangers except for Lafreniere and Trocheck. And this is another huge step, whether he's on McDavid or Draisaitl, I think he'll be on both, depending on what game we are in the series and what line's producing more. I feel like he'll just switch back and forth to the hotter line. But yeah, I feel like if Barkov, obviously we've been saying this in every matchup the Oilers have, you're not going to stop these guys, but if you can limit them, especially when you have a guy named Bobrovsky in nets, you stand a good chance.
Hmm. So there's a little thing called the Triple Gold Club. I'm sure you know what it is.
Hmm.
There are two players that can sort of that can enter the Triple Gold Club with a win in this Stanley Cup final. Can you tell me who these two players are?
So it's World Juniors, Olympics, and Stanley Cup, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so I was gonna say Corey Perry, but he's already won a cup,
he's
so
already got it.
he can't do that. They can. Has McDavid been to the Olympics? I don't think so. And then Florida. Barkov. Did Barkov win the world? Barkov didn't win World Juniors. Is there one on each team, or is there both on the one same team?
Oh, sorry, I completely did this wrong. There's one guy that used to be on this team. That looks terrible.
How dare you? Who's the
Yeah,
player? We
that
have to know
it
now.
was Mike Smith, but he's obviously not even in the league anymore.
You were gonna try and get me to see Mike Smith.
No, another guy that could have won it is Matt Duchene.
Oh, okay.
Matt
Yeah.
Duchene won a Worlds in 2016, and he was on the Sochi team in 2014. And then he has never gotten the Stanley Cup. Another guy
It's
that
definitely gonna be an older player because none of the
Another guy
younger
that is
players did one.
close, that just needs the Olympic gold, which he could get it next Olympics, is a guy like Brad Marchand. He's won the World Cup and the Stanley Cup in 2011. He just needs to get that Olympic gold under his belt. Um, so yeah, look at me go. I thought I was onto something, but I wasn't even close.
No, it's a good point though. It's a pretty rare achievement, but I
There's
think
30 players.
yeah, I think that list will grow as NHL players are back in the Olympics now. So that list probably will grow over the next couple years. But bringing up some NHL sort of knowledge that isn't fake, such as what Noah's doing, is the Utah hockey team have taken in over,
6 other names.
yeah,
You're
have you
getting
seen
there.
it? Have
I saw it quickly, but I only remember like 3 of them.
fair enough. They have taken in votes from fans. Over 500,000 votes were received, and they have narrowed it down to 6 teams names. Obviously, the first one is just the Utah Hockey Club, if they can't come up with one that they feel is appropriate. Other than that, they have the Utah Blizzard, the Utah Mammoth, the Utah Outlaws, the Utah Venom, and the Utah Yeti.
I like
If you had to pick, yeah,
My favorite three, or my favorite two, because I don't like any of the other ones. I don't mind Hockey Club, but I mean, I would only want that for maybe a year or two. I
yeah,
like the
exactly.
Utah Yeti and the Utah Mammoth.
I don't like the way the Utah Mammoth sounds. I think my favorite is Utah Yeti, and I kind of hope they go with that. They could make a pretty cool mascot, a pretty cool jersey logo with
I think
that.
the mascot and jersey could be really cool if they do the Yeti.
Yeah, and if you're sticking with the Utah kind of atmosphere and what people perceive Utah to be, I think Utah Blizzard could be another option. I don't really like the way it sounds, but again, the jerseys
I also
could be,
don't know why they can't add an S to it. Like the Utah Yeti sounds so much better than just Utah Yeti. You know what I mean? Like just
yeah,
adding a
for
simple
sure.
S or Utah Mammoths. Like that sounds
Yeah,
better
I
than
agree.
just the Utah Mammoth.
Saying Utah Mammoth is kind of weird, but the Mammoths
Is
is,
better.
yeah, it's definitely better.
It just
So we'll see which
I
direction they.
I feel like they're gonna just go with for the first year hockey club, and then they'll pick from there.
I think it's either going to be Hockey Club or Yeti for sure. I think we've they're going to wait to get the best name possible, and if they don't get that before the start of the season, you just go
They're
Hockey
just gonna go
Club.
hockey club.
You don't want to rush things like that because that's kind of your name for history. So you don't want to screw that one up. Make sure you got a good one that one the fans will get behind because that's most important. And yeah, just worry about the fans. If the fans are happy with it, then it should be good enough.
But yeah, I think that'll wrap it up for this episode, unless you have anything to add quickly.
Nope.
Yeah, if you guys enjoyed, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and we will be back next week as we will be a couple games into the Stanley Cup final, and we just get one more week closer to episode 100. So yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.